Hello, everyone. I hope you're all safe, healthy, and COVID free from the comforts of your home or offices. Welcome to the Sparkability Virtual Summit. I'm Patch Dulay, the founder and CEO of the Spark Project, and I'll be your host and moderator for the next 2 days. Just to give us a feel of everyone attending this session, can you use our discussion box down below and comment which city or country or whichever part of the world you are watching from. See that we have people here watching from Taguig, Rizal, Iloilo, and some from Metro Manila. I'm streaming from Mandaluyong actually. So hello everyone. So before we start this session, also I'd like to remind everyone or tell everyone that we do have some time for question and answers later. So our speaker can answer any of your questions. So if you have any questions or insights you would like to share, you may do so by leaving a comment on our discussion box below. All right. So it is no secret that a lot of small local businesses, including many creative conscious enterprises, have been impacted greatly because of COVID. The sudden change in landscape has caught the local startup ecosystem by surprise, and even until today, businesses are still figuring out how they can adapt to this new normal. And so we ask ourselves, how might we create new beginnings in this new normal and create a better normal? So to kick off our summit, I'm so pleased to have our speaker join us this morning. She has been a constant peg for me and my team at the Spark Project. And I remember listening to her speak in one of the social enterprise conferences I attended when I was still starting out in my journey. And I couldn't help but be inspired to go and pursue my entrepreneurial dreams after listening to her, which eventually led to the Spark Project. So now it is my great pleasure to introduce to you our speaker, Miss Chit Juan. She is a social entrepreneur, green advocate, coffee crusader, and advocate for women empowerment through business. She has started many businesses, and among them are a coffee chain, a Filipino quick service restaurant, a farm to table restaurant, and a natural and organic store called Eco Store. She is a strong advocate of slow food, organic farming, and sustainable agri-based businesses. She is president and co-chair of the Philippine Coffee Board and the founder of the Philippine chapter of the International Women's Coffee Alliance. As a writer, she has authored 3 books on coffee, namely Kape, Barako, the Big Bean, and the Barista Manual. She also contributes to Star Week, Philippine Tatler, and various other magazines and publications. Again, a pleasure to have her with us today. Let's all welcome Miss Chit Juan. Hi, Miss Chit.
Hi, Patch. How are you?
I'm doing good. Thank you for joining us this morning, and thank you for kicking off our Sparkability Virtual Summit.
Well, like I told you, there's always a first time for everyone. So this is the first time I'm doing it. I'm doing this in the last 2 months for startups, mostly for startups, because the past months have been for women, for people in coffee.
Wow.
So I'm excited to share actually what COVID has done to all of us.
Yeah. Yeah, and we're looking forward to hearing and learning from you today. So
okay.
Yeah, go ahead, take the floor, and
Okay,
we'll be listening and learning from you. Thank you
very much.
Okay.
I'm really so excited to share whatever happened to us during. I mean, Echo Store is a 12-year-old business, but we're not. I guess we're not saved from the effects of the pandemic. So I want to tell everyone that I'm actually sharing my story of the present and a little of the past. If some people don't know, they actually call me a serial entrepreneur because an entrepreneur really should not get stuck with one idea. I mean, you keep evolving, you keep morphing, and you keep trying to find that what we always say is the sweet spot. Whether is it the right business for you, or do you have the right partners, or do you have the right skills or experience for such a business? So actually, just to give you a brief background on what happened to us during the pandemic, when the lockdown was announced, I was like, oh my gosh, there goes the mall stores. We have 5 mall stores, and today we have 5 stores actually, and today 4 of them are closed. So I only have one left, which happens to be on the street side. So um, luckily, that store is in a building in the central business district of Makati. So Wi-Fi is good, accessible, it's small. But when the lockdown was announced, I was like, this is it. So actually, what do you do? Sometimes as a startup, you go back to the drawing board. And I felt like it was 12 years ago when we had one store. We had our accountant sitting on the counter. We had another staff sitting at one of the dining tables in Serendra. I clearly remember, and I was like, this was like 12 years ago. It's like back to the drawing board. But this time, I think you don't think about yourself as having hit the wall and dying. You hit that wall, but you try to do something about it. So right away, we collected inventory from the different stores. We took stock of what we had, and we made sure our inventory was, I mean, we knew where things were. And what happened is we had information on our fingertips. And I always talk about fingertip information because entrepreneurs need this kind of information. You will not, uh, you cannot forgive yourself if you do not know, one, how much are your daily sales? What's in your inventory? What's in your back room? There's nobody in my back room. I have to do it. To date, I have this. I have an inventory sheet, and every morning I track what's there. I'm not as techy as some people might think. So sometimes you go back to notebooks, you go back to manual, you go back to counting. So when you hit the wall, what you really need to do is turn back and go around it. Like, paano yan? I don't have a warehouse guy. He lives all the way in Taguig. I can't pick him up. You know, you look at all the, I'd say the conditions, and you work with what's in your hands. So if it means, being the one to dispatch, being the one to plan out everything, you have to do it. So for those who are just starting out and you think that right away, oh no, I have this beautiful idea and then COVID came. What am I going to do? Actually, maybe count your blessings. Maybe COVID is telling you it's not the right business for you. Or maybe COVID is sending you a message like, don't do that, do this instead. Just a minute. So, uh, what COVID is telling us are actually messages So it's not a matter of uh, just sitting down and sulking. So you turn back, you go around it, and I'm sure you will find a solution. And I'm not saying this is the first time it happened to me. I mean, because I'm more I said more mature than most of you. I've gone through so many, I would say, evolutions and morphing. But the thing is not to give up, because you have to look at your right brain. You have to be creative, and that's how you will know that, oh yeah, I did that before. Sometimes it's a dream, sometimes it's an idea that needs iteration, in the new words called iteration. So you just keep changing it, and the creativity will come. And of course, innovation. Innovation is uh, the word of, I would say, the millennium, because sometimes you might think everything has been invented already. Everything has already been developed. But what you need to do is to innovate on inventions. So you might talk about the businesses we've had in the past. I mean, what's so different about a coffee business? It's different because it talks about Philippine coffee, or it's different because it talks about the women who are in the coffee industry. So it is a fact, it is a feature, but it's an innovation to talk about another feature of a business. Um, or something like eco stores. Everyone was saying, oh yeah, everybody wants green, everybody wants this, organic is expensive, etc. But now, 12 years after, here we are. It's now mainstream. Everybody wants organic, everybody wants to grow their own food. But it took us 12 years to, I guess, make people realize. Or our other advocacies like slow food. Why do we want good food, clean food, fair food? And now that's what everyone wants. Everyone wants a transparency between farmer and buyer. Everyone wants food that is free of chemicals. Everyone wants good tasting food. So slow food, instead of just being a movement, or actually what everybody wants. So innovation is needed in, that iota of an idea. If you innovate it, I think you will find something, a business idea. I always tell people, think of your skills, your talent, your experience. I've heard of people who've already pivoted, maybe in the meantime. Like, I know a golf pro. She's one of the best lady golfers. And for the last 2 months, she's had no income. So you know what she did? She started a Chinese grocery online. And I said, why Chinese? Well, obviously, they have Chinese roots. Second, they have access because a cousin is an importer, etc. And I found myself ordering from her some black beans and some sauce. And she said, you know what? I don't have anyone to teach right now. So I'm using my network. I'm using my network of suppliers. And now she has an online Chinese grocery. I know a couple. One is a doctor. The wife is a doctor. The husband is an instructor. And they decided to lock themselves down in far away Anilao, Batangas. But you know what? For the last 2 months, they've been growing their own food. their son is learning about nature like no child has probably been given the chance if you study in the city. They're eating fresh food. You know, there's a lot of nature, sun, and sand around them. So it's really listening, I guess, to the message. No? And this is where I say you have to pray for inspiration and enlightenment, because you think whoever humbles us is so bad as to make us suffer. It's actually to make us reflect. It's actually to make us think. Maybe I'm in the wrong job. You know, maybe I'm not listening to the message. Maybe I need to uh, do something else. And what you did in COVID is actually what you were meant to. So for a lot of people, a lot of them are like, hey, I'm liking this. For people to be retired. For others, it's like, I can't stand pala my partner. So, there's a lot of realizations, or you don't know what to do with your kids, or you don't know what to do with a sibling who suddenly you're stuck with, or there's so many family situations, right? But for me, I think the GCQ, ECQ, MECQ, whatever CQs we had, the fact that for the last 75 days, we've been indoors is also the time for us to reflect and think of, maybe I haven't thought enough about changing careers. And now is the best time. If you're still concerned about reputation and people are going to say, oh, what happened? Like when I opened Echo Store, people were like, oh, first, when I opened a coffee shop, somebody told me, uy, nagbibenta ka na lang ng kape. This was our first month opening the coffee shop. And I was like, oo eh. Forget those detractors. When I see where they are now, I'm just laughing or smiling. When I opened the Echo Store, everyone was saying, naku, may bibili ba niyan? I mean, you look like a sari-sari store. Okay, but what is an essential business now? A sari-sari store. An essential business now is a grocery. And that's the reason why we are able to get IDs for our staff. That's the reason why we can move around. The reason why we can do deliveries, takeouts, is because we are an essential grocery store, which some people thought was so parang unoriginal, in the past, when they said, but it's just a grocery. You're like a sari-sari store. And I will always remember that whenever you guys have detractors, let them talk. Because sometimes they're saying things because they can't think of an idea themselves. So don't be disheartened when people say, hindi yan kikita. Like when you said, oh, we're a social enterprise, we're going to help communities, give them access to market, blah, blah, blah. And they're like, hindi kayo kikita dyan. Well, luckily, without gloating, Echo's 12 years old. We're 12 years old this year in September, and that's not very far away. So I'm very happy. And on behalf of my partners, Giga Velosa and Rina Francisco, we've stood together for the last 12 years and just boost each other. And I think one lesson also is, if you're a startup, you have partners. Make sure your partners have different skills. Kasi you cannot be sharing the stage all the time that, you're jockeying for position, one-upmanship. You must complement each other. And that's why among us three, a partner is more in culture, one partner is more in operations, and I guess I'm the one who's in marketing because I love marketing. So when you choose partners, it's also important. So for the startups, don't think it's the end. Maybe you just need to start another idea. So just brush your knees, get up, and I always remember a lesson that somebody said. If you fall 3 times, or if there are 3 failed businesses and one succeeds, you're good enough. Meaning you cannot win them all the time. So brush your knees, get up, just like a marathoner, just like any athlete, uh, we can fall, but right away we get up. Okay lang yan. Let's do it again. So let's not be disheartened. Um, I think what's important is you keep the creative juices flowing, and you don't know, the next idea will come. Sometimes in the shower, sometimes upon waking up, sometimes, you know, the ideas come uh, at the weirdest times, but that's because we're open, we're welcoming ideas. There's a Tagalog saying that says, kung gusto, may paraan. Kung ayaw, may dahilan. So, if you don't want to do it, nobody can force you. But if you want to cultivate an idea, bounce it off people, listen to some negatrons, uh, sometimes you just listen to them and test it. You know? So there, I mean, I think the idea will come, but you must always stay positive. Because once the nega vibes hit you, then it removes a lot of strength from you. It it saps you. So I try to avoid um, negative people. I try to, like sometimes listening to the news like once a day uh, is good enough. You don't have to keep listening to. I mean, it's on Twitter. You look at Twitter. You don't have to listen to commentators and all that, because sometimes all this negative news will just bring you down. At the end of the day, those commentators are not the ones who will help you. Um, I know some people who keep reading the opinion page, and I'm like, why do you have to keep reading all the opinions? Oh, because I want to know what they're talking about. I would listen to the news and then try to, uh, well, of course, there are opinion leaders who you can listen to and see what they think. But at the end of the day, it's your choice. So stay positive and keep the spark. And I think you will again build a business that is meant for you. If it failed, maybe it was never meant to be. So acceptance is very important. Acceptance of what is available to us, acceptance of what we can do and what we cannot do, and knowing what we can change and what we cannot. And they say that's wisdom, knowing the difference between what you can change and what you cannot change. So build another business, iterate, innovate, and I guess that's what has kept us going in Echo Store. So there, I think, Patch, that was a good half an hour, or
Mhm.
as we said,
Yeah.
and I hope I was able to share our story, and even the past mistakes, the past failed businesses. There's a time I was invited to talk about just failed businesses, and my friend said, "You're going to accept it?" I said, "Why not? I'm still alive. I can tell them what failed." I went into a laundry, I went into a convenience store, and I told them about why it failed, because
Mhm.
I was doing it because it looked profitable. So when you stop looking for the money, that's when it comes. Because sometimes when you are centered on the money or profit, your mind gets clouded and the other ideas don't come in. With me, it works that way. So I hope uh, probably some of you will take some lessons from that. Kasi sabi nila, ah, well, yeah, you can say that kasi you're comfortable naman and all that. I mean, hey, all of us have expenses. All of us have operating expenses, you know. So all of us have to think of money too, but it's not the primary motivation. The primary motivation must be to like change the world, make the world a better place. I mean, uh, make use of your God-given talent, but it's not just to make money. Making money, you can make money doing drug dealership. You can. There's so many ways to make money, no? But we can make money. By the way, it's also making money, you know. So that's just me. Okay. So thank you, Patch, for this opportunity.
Yeah, thank you, Miss Chit. Thank you for that presentation. It's very insightful. In fact, I picked up a few things. No, not really this ECQ has really brought us to reflect. No? Not only within ourselves, but as well as, of course, our businesses and our work, the work that we do. Um, and I think what I like about what you shared a while ago was about things that when you do business, it's not it's a marathon. That's what I like about it. Yeah, this situation where we are at now might be a speed bump, but it shouldn't. We shouldn't be. Yeah, we should remain positive and try to see beyond that and act according to that positivity and hope that we can overcome. Um, going to going back to Echo Store, can you share with us how has Echo Store how is Echo Store coping now with COVID? How has it been affected? It was, and what kind of things are you doing now in reacting to this new environment that we have?
Okay. When we started Echo Store 12 years ago, right away, we had a website. So you can say, digital history wise, we've had our digital footprint from 12 years ago. That's because we want, we thought we were just going to have one store. So we said, let's do everything. Yeah, let's open a website. Jean and I love to write. So like, yeah, let's put up our articles. Let's write blogs. You know, it was a business to also keep you happy while we share our ideas because we had a lot of advocacies. We traveled a lot. And during our travels, that's why I ended up writing for Star Week and all that. People pala like to listen about travel. So now I have to think of something else because walang travel, di ba?
Mm.
So I think with Echo Store, from the get-go, we wanted to make use of digital technology, at least with our website. Second, we all open Twitter accounts at Twitter for Echo, Twitter for me, Twitter for Jeannie. All of us open Twitter accounts. So that was website, then Twitter, then of course Facebook. And there were different ideas about should we open one Facebook for every store or stuff like that. And then 3 years ago, we refreshed our site because we were gearing more for e-commerce. The idea really was to make our reach around the country, and there's a dream of going regional. Our reach around the country could not just be in the key cities because we opened Eco Store in Cebu, in Davao, Cagayan de Oro. But as you know, rent is expensive and you cannot really open 70 Eco stores like I did with the coffee shop chain. We opened 70. But with Eco, parang we knew we can't open that many stores. So it had to be e-commerce. Then Instagram came. Opened an Instagram account. Um, and then for a while there was Snapchat, but I did not do that. And then we went into Shopify because I told our consultants that we're not so techy as to manage a whole Lazada or a whole Shopee. And so our consultant said, you should actually be more active. And so maybe Shopify is the way to go. And so now we're with Shopify, but it's not stopping us from building a larger infrastructure. Because if before people would consign to our stores, now they can consign to our e-commerce site. When COVID came, I could see it every day that the store sales were going down and e-commerce was going up. I could actually, like you see scales, and this used to be e-commerce, this was store, and right before my eyes, it's going like that. Even now, after a month lang, e-commerce is ahead. Also because in our physical store, we don't allow contact.
Mhm.
I mean, it's so small, I don't want it to be infected. Because they say most of the infections come from groceries, and we're a little grocery. So the way we do it is you call us. If you live in the neighborhood and you can pick up, you call us and we'll tell you if it's in stock. We put it in a bag. We have it ready for you. You pay by bank transfer, pay Maya, GCash. I had to get familiar with all the payment modes. Um, and then, so we're contactless, and we have a big sign at the door that says you cannot enter. You can only call in your orders. And then it also serves as the fulfillment center for our online. So our online orders are serviced from that one physical store, which has become a virtual warehouse. So we know right away we have so many bottles of honey, we have so many bags of coffee, we can see it. And although I have not been to the store physically, they send me a video. They send me a video of how they sanitize the store every day, of how, it's like operating like Charlie's Angels. You're Charlie. Baka you're too young to that. But you're Charlie and you're just telling your angels, do this, do that. And then I have a phone that's just for business. So we do hyper local marketing. Uh, we join the Viber groups in our community. So it's very focused, hyper local focus. Like
Yeah.
if we're in Salcedo Village, what does Salcedo Village want?
Yeah. That's
If
what
we,
I
yeah,
noticed, that a lot of the businesses now are moving also hyper locally because of the limitations in movement. And
yeah,
then there's an emergence of like hyper local markets, or even just like individuals selling stuff, and then using technology, like even like, yeah, Facebook groups, Viber groups, to sell, so
yes.
that's one of the things that I've noticed propping up the past 2 months.
So
We,
for Echo, I mean, I'm very happy and we're very fortunate that we started our e-commerce way before. Actually, we must have started it 7 years ago, but then it was so slow. So I consulted a user experience person. I had to learn the terms like interface and SEO and all that. And like, I think the willingness to learn, no, for the people who are as mature as I am, never say I'm too old to learn it. Naguguluhan ako dyan. Yeah.
Mhm.
Once you say that, wala na. You threw in the towel na.
Yeah.
So I was think slow by slow. Like I just opened my GCash last month. I just opened my PayMaya last month. And don't be afraid to ask. Like I asked, I don't know if you know my niece Ross, one of community.
Yes.
Teach me nga, how do I mean, okay, where's your credit card? Okay, let's. And now I'm so happy. I asked my people, how come you're not answering me? Ma'am, wala po akong load. I'll send you right now. Di ba? I, I, I'm empowered as I empower them. How much do you
Yeah.
need? 200 pesos lang pala. And then they're back online. And it's not because they didn't have money. It's because nobody was selling load in that area. I have so many wonderful stories about the pandemic. Um, like my household staff wanted to send money to her sister. And I said, okay, si Palawan, Luwilier. Sabi ko, tanangin mo nga baka may GCash. Ma'am, may GCash daw.
Hmm.
Yung kapitbahay niya, okay, how much do you want to send your sister? And I showed it before her eyes. Here, it's going to your sister now. She's like, wow, ang galing. And her sister got the money in like 10 minutes.
Right away, yeah.
And she's like, she was charged like, okay, 5 pesos yata per thousand. Who cares? You did not expose yourself to having to go out, making fila, social distancing in Palawan. And she got it right there. So all these wonderful stories of how technology is able to help us with such simple things. The thing is to be open to learn. Ako that's always been my mantra.
Yeah. We have a question here, Miss Chit. What would be your advice for a startup store, a retail owner who experienced delay of construction or opening because of COVID? Should the owner continue given the health crisis or given the situation? Should she continue construction and opening the retail store or not? What would your advice be?
Is it only if it's only one store? I would make it my warehouse cum store, like what I'm doing to my Echo Store Salcedo.
Mm-hmm.
I could very well close it and just work online from the back room. But I think the fact that people can still see a physical structure, and we're in street side kasi.
Yeah.
I mean, if you're in a mall, I would think thrice or 4 times or 5 times, unless you're street side.
Right. So the beauty of having a store is also on the visibility portion. So if it's like, let's say, on the street side, it would be beneficial because people can see you. But if it's like somewhere hidden,
it's the best working billboard.
Yeah,
It's the best working billboard you have. We have a lease that's long, so I'd rather keep it.
yeah,
We have a restroom. We have a kitchen. We can actually cook there. So we service our cafe from that
from
store.
there.
And then Food Panda just comes, so it's again contactless. And knock on wood, I mean, of course, we give our. I didn't even know the rules of BTI yet, and then I gave vitamins to the staff. I gave them bottles of alcohol. We bought plastic for that barrier because they saw it in a bank. Slow by slow lang you adapt, and so far it's been 70 days we're open, 75 days. Or minus weekends because I didn't want naman to also overwork them. We thought that pag weekends, the online naman, some people don't mind if it comes 3 to 5 days. Then they just pay extra for same day delivery. So you tweak. There's a time we did not allow people for a couple of days because they got so scared because one of our customers had COVID, a celebrity. So I said, okay, we will close the store first. And, I listened to the staff because they were scared. So I put them on break for like a whole weekend. And then Monday, they said, Ma'am, okay na yata kami. We did not develop any symptoms. Okay, fine. And so far, so good. We also cook for them.
We have another question here. For those businesses that are considering to diversify their product lines because of COVID, what would you suggest? Like, what first steps could they take in starting that diversification?
I think we have to concentrate on essentials.
Okay.
I think incomes, cash, money, liquid cash will be hard to come by. And people will try and save it for food. Wala pa nga tayo sa clothing and shelter. For basic necessities. So, essentials. For women, essential ang makeup. So, that's an essential. Um, so if you want to diversify, don't be shy. If from selling bags, you're now selling masks. From selling fashion accessories, you're now selling PPE.
Mhm.
Because it's an essential. And I
Mhm.
think it'll be here for a long time.
Yeah.
I have not gone into the medical part kasi I'm more parang parang it's more me to get vegetables from the farm, sell it in the store, make sauces, and that's more me. So we have I don't touch the non-food part yet, at least the masks and PPE. So I think if you diversify to essentials, you will do well.
Okay. Um, we have a question here about social enterprises. So there are in your opinion, because there are a lot of people talking about social enterprises, and you mentioned that in your talk. What do you think are the common misconceptions about social enterprises? And if you are going, if you're someone who wants to pursue uh, conscious, sustainable social enterprise, how would you maintain balance between profitability and doing good?
Well, I always tell people that number one, you cannot live on dole outs, on charity. So the business itself must be profitable.
Mhm.
So if you're a trading business or retail, you must make a profit to at least operate your store, pay your rent, pay your people. So it's not a negative. As a social enterprise, though, you are thinking of uh, a social mission. For us, for Echo Store, we were always the marketplace for food and non-food. The non-food being from our weaving communities, mga baskets,
Mhm.
and then we spun off great women for all the projects we had with mga weaves and textile, etc. But Jeannie Havelosa is the one in charge of that. For Echo Store, it became more food and home basics. Actually, that's our other brand, Home Basics, Echo Store Home Basics. Everything from cleaning your house to washing your clothes. I always tell people from brushing your teeth in the morning until you retire at night. That is the lifestyle. So social enterprises must have a mission. What are you trying to solve? You can choose from the SDGs. There's 17.
Yes.
If you hit one or more, then you're a social enterprise. Second, enterprise alone. The term enterprise means it must be a business.
Yeah.
So you are a for-profit.
Mhm.
Thank God they're considering 25% instead of 33% for corporate income tax. But as a
Yes.
social enterprise, it's not bawal to make a profit.
Yeah.
Now, let's distinguish it with a non-profit. A non-profit is a foundation that exists to do a lot of projects and whatever their vision or mission is. A foundation as a non-profit can make profit, but it cannot have shareholders. So you can have an income that you just keep rolling back to the foundation, but you cannot divide it among the trustees. You cannot divide it because people always have this notion, no, we're a non-profit.
Mhm.
But how will you survive? You'll survive on
Yeah.
dole outs. And that's why I wrote yesterday, what now NGOs? I mean, you're always sanay to dole outs and mga dole outs and donations. How will you survive?
Yeah. I like, yeah, one of my mentors also mentioned, like, when we talk about social enterprises, we have to always remember that social enterprises is just an adjective, and the noun is enterprise, meaning it has to be an enterprise first and foremost, and social is just an adjective to that enterprise,
Correct.
being able to serve other people and doing good along the way. Because some of the social are it's a quite of a, how do you call it, usual sakit, no, or sickness ng mga social entrepreneurs, having a bleeding heart, and
Yes.
um, that they sometimes forget, or most of the time, they forget about the enterprise aspect of the business
And
of
it's
the
purely social.
and it's purely social, and yeah, it's not sustainable. And
Yes.
how can you help more people if you're not thinking about the sustainability of that business?
And I think one of the invisible profits of a social enterprise that has lasted for some time. I always say 5 years is the hump. If you
Mhm.
go over 5 years, you're good. Uh, I don't know now with the pandemic, baka
Mhm.
5 months is the hump. Much shorter now. Um, I think one of the biggest profits is trust. Uh, Trust of your customers. If that can be monetized, you know, you would be a very rich person. But I think trust is something that's really earned, like
Mhm.
profit.
Yeah.
Uh, Trust is the new currency.
Mhm.
Uh, People will buy from you because they trust you, they trust the brand, they trust the
Mhm.
people behind it, that you're traceable, sustainable, etc.
And then you walk the talk, right? And
Yes. And you're authentic because
yeah.
you cannot be doing one thing and then doing another thing behind the curtains.
Mhm. There's one question here. She was saying, I have learned from experience that there are risks, but most particularly trust, and almost always a potential prospective partner would either steal your idea, concept, or even your clients or customers. So, how do you protect yourself from being a victim of the selfishness or the shrewdness of partners of siguro a tied in question there. Maybe you can share us like a bit of a story of how you partnered with your current co-founders now. How did you find them, and how did you band together for Echo Store?
I think first and foremost, when you get partners, you have to have the same value system. If your values are not the same, it'll not last. So the value system, you must have the same the same, practically just having the same values. Now, when you talk about stealing your idea, and such an old story, people, and then they open another shabu shabu or whatever. But for me, sige, de kopyahin mo, fine, I will innovate. Yun ang hindi ko sinabi sa'yo, because
Yeah.
uh, I think with the three of us, it's trust also. Kasi we told ourselves, when we start getting stressed with this business, we'll close it. Hindi naman kami na-stress.
Mhm.
Of course,
Mhm.
it's stressful to pay rent and all that. And now, look, COVID was the one who solved the problems also of high rent.
Yeah.
Diba? Uh,
Yeah.
anyway, um, I think values must be the same. You must trust each other. If the trust disappears, magsulian na kayo ng sing-sing.
Mm.
It's useless having to hide. It's useless having to keep your cards close to your chest. I mean, why are you partners? So pag ganun na yung attitude mo sa partner mo, it's a warning sign that maybe you are, you know, divergent na kayo. It's time to, and don't worry, I've I've dissolved partnerships. I have made partners. It's just how life is.
Mhm.
Don't be scared na, oh my God, they're gonna say I'm not a good partner. Don't, don't be so concerned about what people will say if you know you did the right thing. And that's what you call integrity. If you're doing the right thing, even when people aren't looking.
Yeah, beautiful. We have some for our attendees here today that are on the more youthful side. We have
Okay.
one, a 24-year-old. So I'm 24. So people usually are in disbelief that I own a social enterprise. How would you market and brand yourself if there are people who perceive you as too young to be capable?
You just show them. There is no rule about age.
Mhm,
I mean, I started selling when I was 8 years old. And nobody said, bata-bata mo pa. You know, actually, looking back, it wasn't so much the money. It's the fact that
mhm,
I could convince people to buy,
mhm,
which to this day is my greatest joy. When I can actually sell an idea, it's not the money. So if they think that you're too young, they're not your market.
mhm,
There's you can learn to segment your market. My primary market are these people who are my age. My primary market are people who understand the same things I value. If they're saying you're too young, maybe they're not your market anyway. So why bother?
mhm.
Diba? Now, if you're a 24-year-old serving the needs of a 60-year-old, I mean, I salute you. Because that's a very big market now. Imagine all the 60-year-olds who cannot leave the house and who need their medicine, who need their whatever, their med consult and ganyan. Diba? There must be somebody who can be like a broker for all the senior citizens.
Mhm.
And for those who are below 21. Kasi those who are below 21 also cannot go out. Of course, they're
Correct.
doing TikTok and all that at home. But I wish they would be more mindful of what they can learn. There are podcasts. Diba? There's so many things on the internet rather than TikTok. I don't know.
Mhm.
It's just not me to listen to. I'm not the market. Okay, sorry.
For those naman right now who are tuning in and are still in the process of exploring entrepreneurship and thinking of what to get into during this time, what would be siguro your, like, in the past weeks, like what have you noticed do you think would make of a good business, or what can they explore in terms of like business ideas?
Number one is you take stock of what are your skills ba?
Mhm.
Diba? Are you techie? Instead na ginagamit mo sa TikTok, why don't you be a virtual assistant to somebody older who doesn't want to bother about learning the internet? You can be a virtual assistant. Sir, ma'am, I can take, it sounds like Jollibee, no? Ma'am, sir, I'll, I'll take your calls, I'll take your whatever. Use your skills and parlay. I remember when I was in high school, I had this book, 100 business ideas to start with less than $100. Of course, during that time, it was all imported books. There are also, mahilig ako sa self-help, reference books. So I picked out one, 100 ideas on uh, how to start a business without money. Wait, di ba? It's a nice idea.
Mhm.
One is mga dog walker, yung mga gano'n. As simple as walking the dog of your neighbor kasi wala siyang kasama, or over 60 siya, hindi niya mailabas yung aso. And ngayon, pwede na yung, well, at least in our community, pwede na mag-walk ng dogs and all that. Dog walking. Uh, so, that's really not a skill, but you have to like dogs and dogs have to like you.
Mhm.
uh, Maybe delivering pet food. I don't know. It can be anything. Dapat yung interesado ka so that
Mhm.
it doesn't seem like work. I always believe in getting into a business uh, that I like. I love coffee. I love music. I love all this natural stuff. I love everything we sell in Echo. So while I'm selling, I'm happy.
Mm-hmm.
But it's difficult to go into a business na ako wala talaga ako sa mga sewing, mga face
No.
mask, ganyan. So I've never even thought about it, never even crossed my mind. I can sell, but I'd rather sell coffee than a face mask.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, dapat rin yung may joy ka eh. Di ba?
Mm-hmm.
Sabi ni Marie Kondo, if it doesn't spark
Spark
joy,
joy.
don't do it. So, take stock of what skills you have.
Mm-hmm.
Hindi naman skill yun eh. Kala mo, to other people, it's a skill. Like, I was asking, let's say, Glenn. Glenn, okay na ba itong setup natin? Ganyan. That's his skill. It's not mine. So I don't mind asking him, di ba? But we have to be humble enough to know what we know and what we don't.
Mm-hmm.
Hirap sa iba, you cannot know everything. Well,
Right.
not yet. You know, maybe until you're 99. But what can you what can you do from home? Can you, of course, the basics. Ang dami ngayong home cooking. Can you bake? Can you cook? Uh, so those are basic. The next are services. Are you between 21 and 59? So, can you be a runner? Ikaw tigatakbo sa grocery, you know, you can be a personal shopper. You can make, you can, I don't know if there are people who pay for articles. Can you write?
Mm-hmm.
Can you draw? Maybe parents want drawings of their kids at home. I don't know. But take stock of your skills and your hobbies. And I hope that they will meet. Okay? Can you grow something? Can you grow herbs? Maybe you can supply your neighborhood with, ako, I tried to grow. Masyadong mainit. So, sa farm na lang.
Mm-hmm.
So, you have to look at your interest. And you can do videos, teaching videos. Diba? Like,
Yeah.
how to, lahat ng mga how-to sa YouTube or IGTV, you know something that other people don't.
Mm-hmm.
How
Yeah.
to fix a pantry. I don't know. Whatever.
Yeah. There are a lot of tools now that you can use, even like Zoom or even like Google Meet or Teachable, where you can teach something, whatever you want to teach. You can actually do that online right now. Speaking of books, you mentioned that you like reading self-help books. What kind of books would you recommend when it comes to the mindset of an entrepreneur or a business owner?
Somebody lent me a book. It's called The Way of the Shepherd. It's nice, right there. I also like Simon Sinek.
Mm-hmm.
I like mga Mitch Albom. Kasi it sparks your imagination. I used to read a lot of business books, when I was still managing a larger organization, like Competing for the Future, mga ganon. But my father lent me this book called Small is Beautiful. My father passed many years ago, over 40 years ago. And he lent me this book in the 70s. And it's so applicable now. So parang bumabalik. Like I watched on CNN the other day how milkmen are coming back. And I remember when I was very young, when I was little, there was a Magnolia guy who would deliver milk to our house in a can, and then there's bottles.
The glass
And
bottles.
we used to have our bread delivered. And then there was the horn that I knew that tinapay was there in our village. And he had this funny bike horn. And we knew that it was Mang Fred, the tinapay guy. So, can you imagine, we're just going back now that people are delivering. Kaya lang, ma'am, si Angkas po ito, si Grab Delivery. But before, it was a regular guy who came and delivered bread and milk to our homes. So, uh, the books I think that will help you, or if you're tamad to read, if you have bad eyes, you can do podcasts. Diba?
Mhm.
If you listen to, I always like listening to Bloomberg. It's on Spotify, I think. Um, see David Rubenstein. I like the way he's such a rich guy. He's the head of the Carlyle Group, but he has this thing about interviewing people like Steve Jobs, Elon Musk, Tim Cook, yung mga founders. No? Because the founders of the recent businesses, Elon Musk, Steve Jobs, Tim Cook, Bill Gates, iba yung mind nila di ba? Parang they're like visionaries. So,
Mhm.
you want to know what makes them think that way or what sparked that idea. So, I like that. Lately, yung mga in-interview niya, mga CEO of Google, the head of the US Treasury, hindi ko masyadong ano. But I listened to his podcast even when I was traveling a lot in the plane. I would always listen kasi it's a time I can rest my eyes, but I'm still listening. So instead of reading in the plane, I would listen to mga audiobooks
Yeah.
or podcasts para short lang so that when the meal comes, I'm ready to eat also. Ganon.
Yeah.
So yun, si David Rubenstein, he's somebody from Bloomberg TV that I like to listen to. I like to listen to how he interviews people. Kasi he's ready, he reads about you, and then he asks you, oh Patch, I know that you're one of the Southeast Asian leaders and blah, blah, blah. Di ba yung parang ikaw, you're like, hey, he knows me. Ganon. So parang, so the guys are so natural kasi alam nila, it's not like saying, Patch, so, what is your business na nga? Di ba it's such a turn off? And that's what I always tell people.
Yeah.
Google nyo naman yung kakausapin nyo. Di ba? The Google is there. And I always get shy when people say, I introduce them, no? Oh, I'll introduce somebody to you. Ganyan. Tapos sinabi nung in-introduce ko, what is your company ba? I'm like, oh my God. Sana nagbasa ka muna. give the girl or guy some importance naman, di
Mhm,
ba?
mhm, mhm.
I mean, I didn't read about Glenn or Tim. I know Pats pa lang. So, but di ba, I think right now the Zoom, you're going to be a panelist. You don't even know who your host is. Alam naman tanungin mo, tapos yung pala you're saying an opinion that's against the host company or
Mhm,
but
mhm.
then you shoot yourself in the foot. So just a little research.
Yeah.
It's just one tab in Google. What
Mhm.
is Young Southeast Asian Leaders Initiative? Diba? So I don't say, oh yeah, you're the guy in mali pa yung eskwela. Diba, you know how people are with their schools? So if I know that if I'm not sure about the person's school, shut up na lang ako kasi I might offend.
Mhm, mhm.
Tiga green pala, sinabi ko blue, or tiga UP pala, sinabi ko ganyan, so quiet na lang.
Mhm.
I think it's just doing our homework. And in anything, you have to do your homework. And I always tell people, fingertip information.
Mhm.
You have to have your business basics in your fingertip.
Fingertips. Yeah, I like how you shared a while ago about that, no, yung fingertip information and how the numbers are really important. Like me personally, I'm scared of numbers or allergic to numbers, but it's very important for businesses to know their numbers and see how you can access those kinds of information so that you can make better decisions in business. A lot of also the entrepreneurs here now tuning in, a lot of them are non-essentials. So so right now it's also really hard for them to really cope during the situation because what their business or what they're selling is not considered uh, essential. So what how could they survive this COVID? Like what could you advise them?
Okay, isang tabi muna natin yung non-essential.
Okay.
Let's put it on the side, just as a side burner, hindi man back, no? Side burner. Maybe what you can do first is, maybe it's not a product that's tangible. Maybe it's a service. So we go back again to, what are my skills? What do I know? You know, you can email me or message me on Messenger. What you're the only one who can tell what you know, diba? Like, actually, marunong ako mag-SEO. Ah, really? O sige. If you're very techy, ang daming tao ngayon who will need SEO services. A lot of people need UX, user experience. Di ba, mga type nyo yan, mga SEO, user experience, mga putting up an e-commerce site, learn Shopify, how to navigate it. Because there are things that are available na that are being used by people, but they don't have your, ano kasi, it's aptitude. I think the young minds and the young brains, you were born in the digital era. So your brains are wired for that. Kanina lang, I could hear Glenn typing. I'm like, oh my God, I'm getting kasi bilis niya mag-type. I could hear the keyboard. I don't type that way. I'm a two-finger typist. No? But see, you guys are wired that way. So maybe use that skill and develop. Let's look at ibang klaseng essentials. Let's classify essentials in services and not tangible like food or wearable like a PPE or face mask. Let's look at essentials for how to live life. Of course, I can go to YouTube and learn how to make a GCash. Pero mas gusto ko meron akong tutor. So you can engage somebody and you advertise your service and you're like, those who want to learn any of the following 30-minute course with Patch Dulay. So, Patch, can you guide me? Kasi, it's hindi siya yung binasa mo lang all this YouTube na American pa yung accent, ganyan, di mo naman maintindihan minsan, di ba? You can localize it.
Yeah.
And don't use the internet to up your ang tawag dyan, your ranking in Google. Use your network first. Your family, your friends, hold their hand. So let's call the business holding hands. Okay? Let's develop it. We can form a group. Lahat kayo, kailangan ko ng user experience, SEO, kailangan ko na magtuturo ng GCash, kailangan ko na mag-video pero remote. Tuturuan ako, ma'am, okay na yung camera mo. Sige, start ka na. Okay, I'll be the one to operate. Di ba that's all possible now? I mean, I'm sure Glenn can teach me how to video, how to make coffee. Kasi may skill ako pero wala akong tech skill. That is an essential. See, it's just transforming what you know. So somebody told me, so anong gagawin ko? I'm an instructor. E di magturo ka sa internet. Diba?
Yeah.
But more than just watching a YouTube and getting all these likes and getting ads, do a personalized teaching. Di ba meron mga Udemy, masterclass, mga ganyan. But people don't want to pay $100 and not be assured they can do something. But you can teach somebody guaranteed 1,500 lang. Tinuruan mo ng 30 minutes. Or maybe, I don't know. Senior ba kayo? Sige, 1,000 na lang. Okay? How to order, like a friend of mine. She's older than me. Ayaw niyang sabi ko na sa Instagram, ayoko. O sige, alin ba yung gusto mo? So ako yung nag-help. Gusto ko nung salmon eh. O sandali. Ang nakalagay dito yung salmon, merong cook, merong marinated. O sige, yung marinated. Anong instruction? Sabi ko, teka, sasabihin ko sa'yo, ilan ang gusto mo? Sige, 2 na lang. I became an intermediary to an older friend who didn't want to bother. And I just did it as a favor. Tapos bumili siya ng nuts from Echo Store. Sabi niya, o sige, sama mo na rin yun. Okay, ilang nuts? And I ordered her salmon. I got the nuts. I called for a Grab and had it delivered to her place. Did I charge her for the service? Siyempre hindi kasi kaibigan ko siya. But you could charge for that.
Mhm.
And she was very happy. She baked her salmon. She got her nuts. Sabi niya, paano kitang babayaran? O pwede ka mag-bank transfer. You know? Or mag-barter na lang tayo. Even holding people's hands to just even open how to pay online is already an essential.
Mhm.
So there, those are ideas. And, we can form a group and then I'll tell you in my network alone who wants to be helped. Maybe they won't pay thousands, but if you help 10 people a day at 500 a pop, that's 5,000 pesos a day. Diba?
Yeah. Some of our entrepreneurs are usually parang feeling ko they're a bit hesitant in exploring new ways in doing their business because it's totally different from the business that they started out in the beginning. Let's say they have a social enterprise, they do, for example, some product like a bag. And then now, because of COVID, they're forced to do completely something else and explore something else. Like, for example, what if they thought of pursuing what you mentioned, like hand holding or giving tutorials for senior citizens, for example. Parang feeling ko they're at this point now that they feel like it's doing parang they're scared to jump into that new business or that pivot because um it's not what they started out with, but also they need to survive, diba? So parang I think my question is, like, what would you tell that person, or what would you tell that person who is currently now in the parang on the fence or in the process of like thinking like, okay, I really like my social enterprise, I really like what I'm doing, but these are extraordinary situations and I have to do this. Should I do it or not? Or like, you know what I mean? Miss Chit, are you still there? Hello? We kind of lost you a bit. Are you there, Miss Chit? Okay, I think we lost Miss Chit there, but we'll try to wait for her to join back in. But for now, I'd just like to I think she's back. We still have a few minutes left. So just continue. If you still have some questions, we'll try to answer as much questions as we can, field out as much questions as we can. So please do continue sending in your questions or your insights in our discussion box below. And also, if you want to share how you're finding this session with Miss Chit, that would be great as well. Miss Chit, are you back?
Am I back?
Yes, you are back. Wait, let's just wait for Glenn to bring you back on screen.
Okay.
By
Am
the
I
way,
back?
guys, Glenn, we've been talking about Glenn, and Glenn is our summit director. He's from Upstream, and he made this possible. The stream that you're looking at or that you're watching right now is done by him. So that's Glenn. Miss Chit, are you back? Hello.
Hello.
Yes. Okay, you're back. Yeah. Where did were you able to? Where did we lose you? Were you able to catch my last question about social entrepreneurs being on the fence because yes, they have to survive.
Me? Can you hear?
A little choppy, Miss Chit. Can you try again? I mean, try speaking again.
now. It's still
Hello? Okay. So while we're waiting for Miss Chit to join back in, I want to go through some insights. Actually, there's one here about okay, I really appreciate on the thought that it is not all about profit, not about the money, referring to social enterprises. There are really things unseen, immaterial things that nourish humanity. Yeah, I do agree. I mean, when it comes to creative, conscious enterprises, social enterprises, I think a good point that Miss Chit mentioned a while ago that, you know, it's important to see business not just a way to make money, but also a way to create positive impact in the world. It sounds cliche or cheesy, but it's really that. And if you want to start in exploring how you can be more of a social entrepreneur, a good place to start is your SDGs, right? Look at the UN SDGs and see how you can address any of the problems there through business. Yeah, I'm looking through the comments here, and yes, there is a big shift towards online commerce, e-commerce, because now, because of the limitations in movement, a lot of the business must now explore digital ways of delivering their products and services. I think
I'm
Miss Chit
back.
is back. Hi, Miss Chit. Welcome back. Not sure where you left off, but were you able to catch my last question?
Yes, about people who
Who are
still,
kind of in the fence and say, okay, I need to pivot, but it's not really what I started out with. How do I reconcile that in my head? Or is it okay? Or should I
you know,
feel bothered
I
at all?
I think you have to really accept that it's a new reality.
Mhm.
Until you accept, you cannot move on.
Yeah.
Because maybe your idea was very good during pre-COVID. It was very applicable. It was exactly what we needed then. Boom. Diba? Like me, I mean, I want to talk to customers. I love talking to customers over a cup of coffee. Eh, hindi na ganun eh. Diba? So, who would have thought our days would now be full of Zoom meetings?
Yeah.
Then you're not even buying coffee from me. Diba? At least kung nandun tayo sa Echo, I could sell you pa a cup of coffee. So, acceptance is the first thing we have to think about. And I know, the closest of friends, family, hindi pa sila hindi pa sila ready. 2 months na.
Mhm.
They're still holding on to that old, parang, just clutching. Kailangan, ang first thing is pray for acceptance. You have to talk and sit quietly and reflect kung ano, iba na to eh. 'Di ba? So, until you do that, sorry,
Mhm.
hindi ka makaka-move on.
Mhm.
Like, I tell people, it's like facing the inevitable. Eh. I mean, that's why I said, it's just acceptance that will make us all move and move the economy and move everything. Like, the balik probinsya, oh, I so love it. Because in the end, that's all what we wanted. We all wanted to get rich, to buy a farm. Why did we leave the farm in the first place? To go abroad. I mean, I hear horror stories of OFWs who've been dismissed and all that. Maybe it's time to look at your farm. Maybe it's time to go back to nature. Yung mga ganon, I don't want to sound overly religious but we need to have not only a physical change, but a spiritual change and a mental conversion. Until we do that, we will still have old problems in a new era.
Mhm.
So
Yeah.
that's
We're,
it.
yeah, we're almost
Yeah.
but I guess I have a question, like siguro as a more of like a message, or like a crystal ball. So now, in what do you think, like how do you hope, because of this, of course crisis also comes opportunity, like how do you envision um our businesses would be like, you know, moving forward after this, or like, because of COVID, how do you imagine our businesses shape up and be like in the months and years ahead?
I think people will go back to the farms. I think people will go back to the farms. People will go back to growing their own food. It's back to basics, but with the help of technology. So it's a marriage of old and new, but a beautiful marriage that will make, siguro biglang yung UN Sustainable Development Goals, baka ma-solve lahat yun, even before 2030.
Mhm,
Diba? Parang the pandemic just sped it all up.
mhm.
So that's my idea of
Uh,
what would.
ang ganda. Going back to basics, but with technology helping aid that, or being an enabler for that. Um, as we end, how what would be siguro your parting message in the next few sessions that we have today and tomorrow? Our participants will go through the process of um, reflecting. So this will be an opportunity. The Sparkability Summit would be an opportunity for them to reflect with themselves and their business, and think of new ways on how they can go about, their social enterprises and their startups. As we end, what would be your parting message to them as they continue on the next sessions?
I think it's to keep an open mind. The fact that they will attend the session already means that's already the first step in wanting to keep feeding the mind. Parang vitamins yan. It's not that you will do exactly what the speaker has done or is doing, but it's to make your mind iterate it. It's to make your mind work, because all of us have different gifts. All of us have different missions. All of us have different purpose, if you will. So, gaya-gaya is not it. Eh. You will have your own original path, your own original uh, purpose, your own original mission. And all this talks that you're listening to, are merely, I would say, vitamins,
Mhm.
you know, for your brain, for your own gifts to come out, for your own hidden talents to come to the fore. So take it as like taking vitamin C, you know. Uh, you don't expect that idea to come tomorrow at 4 p.m. But keep praying for it. Because I think whoever humbles us is telling us, o ngayon, anong gagawin nyo? Hindi nyo pala to kailangan. Hindi nyo pala kailangan ng kotse. Hindi nyo pala kailangan ng ganito. So he's actually making us think like, oh nga no, what do I really need besides food? Food for the brain. Food for the heart. Diba? So as a primer to all the talks, and I will also listen today and tomorrow, is to keep an open mind and to accept our new reality.
Thank you so
That's my
much. Thank you so much, Miss Chit. As he said, I really like what he said and I also believe it, na learning never stops. The mere fact that we're all here today and our attendees today chose to invest their time or just like be present today is a big step already in ownership and like taking control of you know what they want to do with their lives and with their business. And with that, I really want to thank you all so much, Miss Chit.
thank you.
You have been such a role model for us at the Spark and a lot of social entrepreneurs, and I'm so happy then that I was able to. You were able to join us so that I could introduce you to our community. Uh,
Thank you.
yeah,
And I wish you all the best for the rest of the day and tomorrow. And I'll be watching in between my other tasks.
yes.
But I'll be there. I'll be tuning in.
So glad for you to join us. So that ends our session. Thank you. Let's all give a big thanks to our speaker. And then we'll catch you all later at 2 p.m. for our next session with Coach Kitty Feria. So for now, that ends our morning session for Sparkability Virtual Summit. And I'll see you all later in the afternoon at 2 p.m. See you. Bye.
Bye.